What's up guys, I am finally back with another home video which I have been dying to do, and today we are starting off in IKEA where I purchased the Billy bookcase. You are probably very familiar with this, so many people have this bookcase. I wanted 3 columns and I wanted the doors, and I also wanted to extend it upwards so that it could fit with my really high ceiling, so I got this extension piece that you see at the top, and this is everything. I went ahead and loaded it up into my car and took it home. So I had been searching for the perfect display cabinet for the formal living room in my home. I wanted it to be neutral, a nice warm tone, and I just could not find anything that was the color that I wanted, and the prices were also insane. I'm talking thousands of dollars. So I decided, let's challenge myself to a DIY IKEA flip. I've always wanted to be a DIY girly. That is what I watch on YouTube all the time. So I'm like, let's see if I can do this. And I thought I was just gonna kill it, but this turned out to be so much harder than I thought. But I really just wanted to walk you through the process so that you could learn from my mistakes and also hopefully come out with something that you love. So I'm starting by priming with the Bin Primer by Zinsser, and I did a lot of research during this process to find out everything that needed to be done. Like I said, I've never really done anything like this, so I wanted to learn from the professionals, and everybody recommends that you prime your pieces of furniture before you paint them. You can skip this step. There are paints with primer in them, but it's definitely recommended for the best finish, and I just really wanted this to turn out right. This is a piece of IKEA furniture which is cheap, and I just wanted it to look expensive, so I decided not to skip any steps. I just really went all in and did everything that I was supposed to do, starting with the priming. As you saw, I also taped off the windows on this door before I started painting, and then I went ahead and painted the other pieces that you saw laid out all over my formal living room, and this was laid out here for a while. I thought I was just going to muscle through this project, get it done in a couple of days. No, this took me weeks because I was taking breaks, I was getting fed up, and you guys will see. But as you can see, I just went ahead and primed everything, and don't forget that I had to let it dry, flip it over, and prime on the other side. So yeah, tedious process, but I finished that, and we are moving on to step 2, which is putting the actual piece of furniture together. Now, I decided to paint before I put the furniture together, again because I watched a video and that is what the guy recommended to do. He recommended that you should paint everything and then put it together to get the best finish, but in hindsight, looking back, I really don't think that's the best thing to do. I feel like I wasted a lot of time priming everything individually. That literally took me so long, flipping everything over, and I realized that some pieces aren't even going to show once the unit is together. So honestly, in my opinion, putting everything together first just makes more sense. And as you'll see, I built these bookcases, but I didn't put the shelves in because I was like, okay, I'll just leave the shelves out and paint those individually. But as you'll see later, that was also a bad idea. Honestly, just put it all together, in my opinion. So this is what it all looked like together, and this is when I decided that I didn't need the extension pieces on the top. I have like 10-foot ceilings downstairs, and I thought that I would want this to be really high all the way up, but I realized it was actually tall enough on its own, but I still wanted to show you that extension in case you have super high ceilings and wanted to order that. So the next thing that I did is sand down this bookcase. This is something that you want to do if you want a nice smooth finish. We are trying to make this IKEA furniture look expensive, and you need it to be smooth. So I got these sanding cubes or blocks from Home Depot, and I made sure to get one that said that it would help smooth, and that's basically what it did. It was super easy to work with this block, so I definitely recommend that. And I just went through and sanded everything, and I used a sandpaper with more grit to get little parts that were a little bit thicker, like paint drips that I needed to really sand down. Once everything was smooth, I dusted it off and took it inside, and now I want to get rid of these little holes. So this is one thing that makes IKEA furniture stand out, because it has these little holes where you can adjust the shelving, and it just looks really cheap. If you were to buy furniture, you would not see that. So I wanted to fill those holes, and I'm using plastic wood. I thought that I could just squeeze this into the holes and it would just be super simple. But again, this was another pretty tedious process, but eventually I figured out that it would work a lot better if I used this little plaster smoothing spatula thingy. So I went ahead and smoothed that plastic wood into the holes and made sure that they are really filled nicely, because when I paint everything, I want it to just look like a smooth surface. And as you saw earlier, I put little tick marks that showed where I was going to put my actual shelves so that I didn't fill those holes, and I left those open. And now I'm just sanding again. We just keep sanding and sanding and sanding because this needs to be smooth. And there was a lot of plastic wood around the hole, so I wanted to make sure that that was smoothed down. And dust was everywhere, okay? Make sure you dust it off or use a blower like me if you're lazy. I brought all the pieces inside, and now it is time to basically secure them all together. We don't want 3 individual columns. We want one display cabinet. So as you can see, I left some holes open that are not for shelves because this is where I am going to connect my bookcases. I found a great tutorial on how to do this, and I purchased these little screws, and I will link every single thing that you see me using this video down below so that it will be super easy for you to do this. I clamped the bookcases together with these heavy duty clamps, and here's a better look at the screws that I'm going to be using. There's a screw on one side and the part that you screw it into on the other, and this is basically going to hold the sections together. So for this, I definitely needed my drill and my drill bit, and I just went ahead and drilled a hole through the hole that I already had just to make it a little bit bigger so that this screw could fit. And this is what that looked like. So I went ahead and added that screw in. But then I ran into a problem. The section that the screw latches onto is actually pretty thick, so I needed a bigger drill bit to make the hole on that side a little bit larger so that I could push that piece in. And you'll see what I mean right here. So I just went ahead and drilled a little bit of a bigger hole on that side, and then I was able to push this little piece in, and then you literally just screw it together, and that connects everything. This is what it looks like when that was fully connected. And now I'm gonna do that right here, right here, right there. I already did that one, and I'm gonna do it down below there as well. So that's pretty much what I'm working on now, drilling those holes, adding in those screws, and really locking this display cabinet together so that it is one fully functioning piece of furniture. So this is what it looks like when everything is put together. As you can see, I connected in a few different spots like I said I was going to, and now everything is just really secure and it's not going to separate. So that's great, and I'm moving on to the next step, which is finally painting this unit. So I used the color Mushroom Bisque from Bear at Home Depot, and it was the perfect warm neutral that I wanted for this area. You guys are really getting a sneak peek of my formal living room in this video, but in my home update, which is coming up very, very soon, I'm going to be showing you guys all the updates that I've done to my entire house. I've done so many different things all over, and I just want to walk you through all of the new decor, all of the stuff that I've bought, the furniture, the design direction that we're going in. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this little sneak peek. I just really wanted to get this display cabinet flip out before I posted the home update. So in the meantime, enjoy these little views of the formal living room. But as you can see, there's a lot of cream tones. It's very warm and neutral, and I wanted to warm it up even more with this Mushroom Bisque color and add a different neutral instead of just having everything be beige and cream. And I really, really love the color that I chose, and it was also really easy to paint on. During this process, I feel like I also learned about paintbrushes and what works best, and it was just a really good learning experience. But after a lot of hard work, we are finished painting this. We pretty much finished one side of the doors, and at this point I was ready to flip over the doors and paint the other side, but I realized that having the doors on the floor was a bad idea because when I went to lift it and flip them over, the paint was peeling off on the cardboard that I was painting it on. So I realized I needed to like lean this up on the wall and paint it there instead. So I went ahead and started doing that, touching up the areas that had peeled off and just finishing up painting up the second side of this cabinet. And I did paint everything twice. 2 coats on everything, the unit and the doors and everything. And now I decided to try putting in a shelf just to see what it would look like. And this is when I realized I should have put the shelves in first. As you can see, the paint started to chip. And this is why I say it just makes sense to put everything together before you start painting. Because at this point, I had to not only paint the shelves, but paint the little areas where the paint chipped when I put the shelving units in. It wasn't really a big deal, and this is a matte paint, so it's really easy to do touch-ups, but girl, just put the whole unit together. I don't know why that person recommended painting it separately. Maybe that's the best thing to do for some furniture, but for this, it just would have been better if everything was together. But did you guys just see me on the floor, literally on my back, painting this unit? Let me tell you, this thing took so much out of me. If you pay attention to the amount of times my nails changed in this video, you'll see how long this took me, and it was just intense on my body, on my mind, but we got it done. So as you can see, I finally took the tape off of the doors, and here comes another problem. The paint kind of started to seep through, and some of the tape also didn't come out from underneath where I taped it down, and I was just stressed. But I put on my big girl panties, and I bought this little scraper from Home Depot, and I started cleaning up all of these edges. I was able to scrape out the tape and also just scrape out any extra paint or little drips and just perfect this. And it was tedious, but take your time and really just clean this up, and then we need to sand. Don't forget that I did do 2 coats of paint. I wanted to make sure it was nice and opaque. There was no white streaks peeking through. And then I just went ahead and sanded this down and made sure that it was nice and smooth. And then we are going to seal. Another step that you really do not want to skip. This is polyurethane. This is the brand that I used from Home Depot. I think that this was a pretty much matte finish, and I think you can get glossy as well. And it just goes on really, really easy. Just want to make sure that you paint the bookcase, paint the doors, and paint the backing that we're going to slide into the back of the display cabinet. And this gave it a really nice finish, and it also helps prevent chipping, which is something that will for sure happen if you do not seal. So for the doors, I also found a better way to do all of this. I put up 2 of my little side tables and put the table on here, and I went ahead and just touched up any areas that got messed up. These really just got messed up from being on the floor. So putting it on here just allowed me to perfect these doors, make sure that it was all touched up, and then go ahead and seal them. Once that polyurethane dried and everything was nice and sealed, this is what the finish looked like. Super nice and smooth to the touch. I was so happy with the finish of this project. And the last thing that we need to do is put the backing inside of the bookcase, and then you're just going to hammer these nails in to connect it where the shelves are. So this is the area where my bookcase is going to live. So I went ahead and cleared out some last few boxes that were in this area. These boxes are pretty much just filled with decor that doesn't have a home yet, but I found a better place for it so that we can really make this dining area look nice. I am in my pajamas right now. I am so sorry, but once I got near the end of this project, I really started muscling through and getting everything done. And one of the last steps was just putting on these doors, and it looked so good. I went ahead and bought some doorknobs from IKEA, some door pulls, I should say, these gold ones, and that worked beautifully. I already had so many things to fill these cabinets, so I put those in, and then I took a little shopping trip to Target and Home Goods, which is where I found everything for my display cabinets. So I just needed a few more pieces. I wanted to add some gold accents, and I also used things from my old apartment decor that I already had, and I really just went ahead and finished off the process by adding those windows to the unit. Now, this is the fun part. One thing I learned from this process is that I love design, I love styling, but DIY just might not be for me. It is so tedious, it's a long process. It's really rewarding, but girl, it's hard. So let's get into the finished result. Here is my beautiful IKEA Billy bookcase flip that turned into a really luxurious looking display cabinet. I am so happy with how this project turned out. It was a real learning process and it was very fun to see come together, even though it took so much work. But this is pretty much how I styled it, and I love how it turned out. There are so many different things that you can do with IKEA furniture to flip it and make it look gorgeous without breaking the bank, and I love that. I don't know if I'll be doing any more in the future, but I still love to watch people do this, and I hope that you enjoyed watching me do this little IKEA flip, and I also hope that you really learned a lot. I'm new to this and you might be new to this as well, so I hope that you are able to learn from my mistakes and are able to do this for yourself at home. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of the results, and please stay tuned for a big home update coming soon.